peralatan-peralatan yang berkaitan dengan protokol kesehatan. Semua karyawan, baik dosen maupun karyawan biasa, yang ketat, wajib bermasker dan kita melakukan physical distancing. Bapak dan Ibu, di Unisla juga disediakan sarana yang ketat, wajib bermasker dan kita melakukan physical distancing. Bapak dan Ibu, di Unisla juga disediakan sarana yang ketat, wajib bermasker dan kita melakukan physical distancing. Bapak dan Ibu, di Unisla juga disediakan sarana yang ketat, wajib bermasker dan kita melakukan physical distancing. Bapak dan Ibu, di Unisla juga disediakan sarana yang jam dengan fasilitas 6 bed, petugas kesehatan dan dokter jaga. Apabila di klinik ini sudah tidak bisa kita tangani, maka kita juga menyiapkan kendaraan untuk reaksi cepat berupa ambulan reaksi cepat dengan standar ambulan pada penanganan COVID-19 dan ambulan mobil sehat. Dan di Unisla juga kami siapkan ruang isolasi dengan perlengkapan isolasi kesehatan yang memadai. Itulah Bapak Ibu fasilitas yang kami sediakan di kampus Unisla dalam rangka kita menyesuaikan dengan keadaan, karena COVID Corona 19 ini sampai hari ini masih ada di sekitar kita, dan dengan kita menjadi kampus yang kita siapkan menjadi kampus tangguh Semeru Unisla, maka kegiatan-kegiatan bisa kita lakukan di antara kita di masa pandemi COVID-19 ini. Bapak Ibu, kami persilakan untuk melihat kondisi kampus Tangguh Unisla yang ada. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Selamat datang di Kampus Tangguh, Semeru, Universitas Islam Lamongan. Sehat, aman, tertib, rukun.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat datang di Kampus Tangguh, Semeru, Universitas Islam Lamongan. Bapak Bupati yang kami hormati, Pak Kapolres, tim gugus tugas Provinsi Jawa Timur, tim gugus tugas Kabupaten Lamongan, dan hadirin sekalian, menghadapi virus Corona COVID-19 yang sampai hari ini belum ada satupun yang bisa memastikan sampai kapan, maka kita semua menyiapkan diri untuk tetap bisa beraktivitas dengan kita bersahabat dengan keadaan. Untuk itu, Kampus Universitas Islam Lamongan menyiapkan diri menjadi Kampus Tangguh Semeru Universitas Islam Lamongan. Apa saja yang kami persiapkan, Bapak Ibu, sejak masuki kampus Unisla, maka kami menyiapkan sarana berupa cek kesehatan awal pada gerbang masuk kampus Unisla. Setelah itu, Bapak Ibu akan mendapatkan posko kampus Tangguh, di mana di dalam posko tersebut ada ruang informasi dan ruang logistik, di mana di ruang logistik disediakan peralatan-peralatan yang berkaitan dengan protokol kesehatan. Semua karyawan, baik dosen maupun karyawan biasa, menerapkan protokol kesehatan COVID-19, yaitu menggunakan alat pelindung diri standar kesehatan. Di Unisla kami menyiapkan laboratorium mikrobiologi kesehatan, di mana di laboratorium kami sudah melakukan kegiatan-kegiatan antara lain produk hand sanitizer, kemudian antiseptik dan disinfektan yang telah lolos uji laboratorium dan kelayakan. Bapak Ibu yang kami hormati, di kampus kami juga kami siapkan kelengkapan alat penunjang, yaitu mobil sprayer disinfektan kapasitas 700 liter, sprayer ruang kelas dan ruang kerja, dan 2 hari sekali kami lakukan penyemprotan disinfektan di ruangan-ruangan yang ada di Unisla. Selain itu, kita juga menyiapkan bilik kesehatan dengan antiseptik sprayer yang otomatis. Di setiap gedung, di depannya kami sediakan wastafel untuk cuci tangan sesuai dengan standar yang berlaku. Di Unisla ini ada kegiatan-kegiatan usaha mikro, kecil, dan menengah, baik yang dilakukan oleh dosen, mahasiswa, maupun penyediaan makanan dan minuman, yaitu koperasi dan minimarket Unisla, serta kantin yang ada di Unisla, semuanya menggunakan standar, sehingga kami namakan koperasi dan UMKM serta kantin sehat Unisla dengan kontrol kualitas makanan dan minuman oleh tim kesehatan.
Sudah Pak, aman Pak.
Masuk ya suaranya? Masuk semua ya suaranya?
Iki langsung iku ya?
Iya,
iku nih.
baik.
Suaranya belum masuk.
Cek, cek.
Oke.
Kurang bagus sih, keterangan.
Pak, saya mic dulu Pak ya.
Kok ada yang pelan-pelan ini?
Ada di aplikasi apa ya?
Cek, cek. 1, 2, 3. Everybody can listen my voice. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Oke. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Bisa ada yang bengong berarti HP ini langsung ada yang pakai HP ini bengong di ruangan ini.
Ini belum nyambung, Pak.
Belum nyambung.
Coba. Bu Rizky, punya aku bisa nyambung nggak gitu?
Patrick Kennedy.
Ini nek pakai ini bengong, Bu. Yoga, yang lain akhirnya tabrakan.
Enggak, yang pakai HP berapa orang sini?
Saya keluar dari HP, saya pakai laptop aja kemudian.
Pakai laptop aja. Coba sama matikan dulu, bengong enggak? Coba. Oke. Tanam tegas.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ya, sip.
Cek, cek.
No noise. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Oh, iya.
Dari sini bagus.
Oh iya Pak Nam. Pak Mati.
Guys, nggak bengong ini normal.
Pak Made, please check the voice.
Ya. Halo Pak Anam.
Ya, Pak Made.
Oke.
Iki krungu. Suarane jenengan krungu, Bu.
Apa Bu? Sudah ya, sudah bisa ya. Ayo ngomong Pak Anam sih.
Oke, cek, cek.
Oke. Pak Mati tadi oke juga.
Di. Iki wis oke. Aku tak pakai ini. Enggak, iki WA anu punya aku. Iya. Ya wis. Iki tak matikan.
Tanam di sini dulu Mas.
Oke.
Sudah masuk Pak.
Mana titik? Sopo. Apanya? Oh iya, nyapa-nyapa dulu. Cek.
Jadwal partisipan ya. Tambang Mulyono.
Mana Patrick?
Sama juga.
Nah, ini Pak itu suaranya apa? Mungkin bisa berisik itu.
Ini udah masukkan.
Oke, cek film. Belum masuk.
Oh iya.
Mana suaranya?
Mana Patrick?
Marhaban.
Marhaban. Marhaban. How are you today?
I'm very good, thank you. Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Yeah. Good morning. Good evening.
Yeah, good. Yes, that's right.
I ever visited Belzer Middle School
Is that right?
with
Yeah, with
with
Beth.
Beth. With Beth. Yeah.
Very nice.
5 or 4 years ago with my wife also.
Very good.
It's a huge school,
Yes, it is very large.
very large. Yeah.
It feels it feels even larger today with no kids. Right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the building of the school in Indonesia in America is different because you have a closed building, but in Indonesia is open. That is why the teachers are very anxious to open the school in America. Yeah,
Very anxious right now. And we're waiting, and every day that the plan changes a little bit. Our health ministries, the health departments, every day new information, new changes, new updates.
Yeah.
How is the community and your teachers dealing with reopening in Indonesia?
Yeah, the teachers here, for the teachers and actually the students and the parents here are ready to go to school, but the teachers are also anxious because most of the teachers here are old, 50 years old, and it is very risky to open soon before the vaccine invented. So
Right.
I think the debate of the opening of the school is also happens in Indonesia. What about Beth? Beth is still.
I haven't heard from Beth yet. I just sent her a message, but I don't know about Beth yet. Oh, she says she's trying to log in right now.
Hey, what is the name of your dog? Your background, there is a dog.
This one is Bridget.
Hello.
There are two back there wandering around.
Oh, yeah, I see.
And sometimes kids go back and forth too.
Oh yeah.
It's still nice out. They're playing outside right now. So that's good.
Yeah. Beth and Heinz Labiaga. I want to say hello to Heinz and Beth. Rektor.
Assalamualaikum Pak Rektor. Still connecting.
Jadi kalau saya nggak kelihatan ya atas ingat, saya delok ke sana langsung nggak mendelik. Ada pertanyaan? Ini yang YouTube-nya udah masuk ya? Langsung YouTube ya? Maksudnya sudah siaran terus? Belum ya? Live. Oke.
Pakai YouTube-nya siapa? Gitu. Saya renang Facebook ini.
Nanti kalau boleh.
Selamat datang di Kampus Tangguh, Semeru, Universitas Islam Lamongan. Sehat, aman, tertib, rukun.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat datang di Kampus Tangguh Semeru Universitas Islam Lamongan. Bapak Bupati yang kami hormati, Pak Kapolres, tim gugus tugas Provinsi Jawa Timur, tim gugus tugas Kabupaten Lamongan, dan hadirin sekalian, menghadapi virus Corona COVID-19 yang sampai hari ini belum ada satupun yang bisa memastikan sampai kapan, maka kita semua menyiapkan diri untuk tetap bisa beraktivitas dengan kita bersahabat dengan keadaan. Untuk itu, Kampus Universitas Islam Lamongan menyiapkan diri menjadi Kampus Tangguh Semeru Universitas Islam Lamongan. Apa saja yang kami persiapkan, Bapak Ibu, sejak masuki kampus Unisla, maka kami menyiapkan sarana berupa cek kesehatan awal pada gerbang masuk kampus Unisla. Setelah itu, Bapak Ibu akan mendapatkan posko kampus Tangguh, di mana di dalam posko tersebut ada ruang informasi dan ruang logistik, di mana di ruang logistik disediakan peralatan-peralatan yang berkaitan dengan protokol kesehatan. Semua karyawan, baik dosen maupun karyawan biasa, menerapkan protokol kesehatan COVID-19, yaitu menggunakan alat pelindung diri standar kesehatan. Di Unisla kami menyiapkan laboratorium mikrobiologi kesehatan, di mana di laboratorium kami sudah melakukan kegiatan-kegiatan antara lain produk hand sanitizer, kemudian antiseptik dan disinfektan yang telah lolos uji laboratorium dan kelayakan. Bapak Ibu yang kami hormati, di kampus kami juga kami siapkan kelengkapan alat penunjang, yaitu mobil sprayer disinfektan kapasitas 700 liter, sprayer ruang kelas dan ruang kerja, dan 2 hari sekali kami lakukan penyemprotan disinfektan di ruangan-ruangan yang ada di Unisla. Selain itu, kita juga menyiapkan bilik kesehatan dengan antiseptik sprayer yang otomatis. Di setiap gedung, di depannya kami sediakan wastafel untuk cuci tangan sesuai dengan standar yang berlaku. Di Unisla ini ada kegiatan-kegiatan usaha mikro, kecil, dan menengah, baik yang dilakukan oleh dosen, mahasiswa, maupun penyediaan makanan dan minuman, yaitu koperasi dan minimarket Unisla, serta kantin yang ada di Unisla, semuanya menggunakan standar sehingga kami namakan koperasi dan UMKM serta kantin sehat Unisla dengan kontrol kualitas makanan dan minuman oleh tim kesehatan. Selain itu, pengunjung di kantin juga diterapkan protokol kesehatan yang ketat, wajib bermasker, dan kita melakukan physical distancing. Bapak dan Ibu, di Unisla juga disediakan sarana ibadah berupa masjid. Masjid pun kita perlakukan protokol kesehatan yang ada, yaitu dengan melakukan pembatasan bagi jamaah yang keluar masuk yang dikontrol ketat, penerapan physical distancing pada waktu sholat, baik sholat jamaah biasa maupun sholat Jumat. Kapasitas yang kami perlakukan hanya 40% dari kapasitas masjid yang ada. Di Unisla terdapat pondok pesantren. Pondok pesantren pun kita jadikan pondok pesantren tangguh, di mana pondok pesantren mahasiswa ini biasanya pada keadaan normal kapasitasnya 450 mahasiswa, tetapi di dalam masa COVID Corona 19 ini kita isi maksimum 90 orang per angkatan. Penerapan standar kontrol kesehatan juga kita perlakukan di kampus pondok pesantren kampus Unisla. Kemudian pembentukan tim kesehatan, kami melakukan pembentukan tim kesehatan reaksi cepat dan tanggap darurat. Ada call center masing-masing fakultas dan satuan kerja yang ada di Unisla, dan ada pusat penanganan kedaruratan yang terkendali, di mana kita bekerja sama dengan puskesmas, rumah sakit, dan fasilitas kesehatan yang lainnya. Serta kami akan bekerja sama dan koordinasi dengan gugus tugas COVID-19 Kabupaten Lamongan. Bapak dan Ibu, di Unisla kami siapkan klinik kesehatan. Manakala terjadi hal yang tidak diinginkan, maka klinik kesehatan kami ready atau siap 24 jam dengan fasilitas 6 bed, petugas kesehatan, dan dokter jaga. Apabila di klinik ini sudah tidak bisa kita tangani, maka kita juga menyiapkan kendaraan untuk reaksi cepat berupa ambulan reaksi cepat dengan standar ambulan pada penanganan COVID-19 dan ambulan mobil sehat. Dan di Unisla juga kami siapkan ruang isolasi dengan perlengkapan isolasi kesehatan yang memadai. Itulah Bapak Ibu fasilitas yang kami sediakan di kampus Unisla dalam rangka kita menyesuaikan dengan keadaan, karena COVID Corona 19 ini sampai hari ini masih ada di sekitar kita, dan dengan kita menjadi kampus yang kita siapkan menjadi kampus tangguh Semeru Unisla, maka kegiatan-kegiatan bisa kita lakukan di antara kita di masa pandemi COVID-19 ini. Bapak Ibu, kami persilakan untuk melihat kondisi kampus tangguh Unisla yang ada. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Universitas Islam Lamongan. Sehat, aman, tertib, rukun.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat datang di kampus Tangguh Semeru Universitas Islam Lamongan. Bapak Bupati yang kami hormati, Pak Kapolres, tim gugus tugas Provinsi Jawa Timur, tim gugus tugas Kabupaten Lamongan, dan hadirin sekalian, menghadapi virus Corona COVID-19 yang sampai hari ini belum ada satupun yang bisa memastikan sampai kapan, maka kita semua menyiapkan diri untuk tetap bisa beraktivitas dengan kita bersahabat dengan keadaan. Untuk itu, kampus Universitas Islam Lamongan menyiapkan diri menjadi kampus Tangguh Semeru Universitas Islam Lamongan. Apa saja yang kami persiapkan, Bapak Ibu, sejak masuki kampus Unisla, maka kami menyiapkan sarana berupa cek kesehatan awal pada gerbang masuk kampus Unisla. Setelah itu, Bapak Ibu akan mendapatkan posko kampus Tangguh, di mana di dalam posko tersebut ada ruang informasi dan ruang logistik, di mana di ruang logistik disediakan peralatan-peralatan yang berkaitan dengan protokol kesehatan. Semua karyawan, baik dosen maupun karyawan biasa, menerapkan protokol kesehatan COVID-19, yaitu menggunakan alat pelindung diri standar kesehatan. Di Unisla, kami menyiapkan laboratorium mikrobiologi kesehatan, di mana di laboratorium kami sudah melakukan kegiatan-kegiatan antara lain produk hand sanitizer, kemudian antiseptik dan disinfektan yang telah lolos uji laboratorium dan kelayakan. Bapak Ibu yang kami hormati, di kampus kami juga kami siapkan kelengkapan alat penunjang, yaitu mobil sprayer disinfektan kapasitas 700 liter, sprayer ruang kelas dan ruang kerja, dan 2 hari sekali kami lakukan penyemprotan disinfektan di ruangan-ruangan yang ada di Unisla. Selain itu, kita juga menyiapkan bilik kesehatan dengan antiseptik sprayer yang otomatis. Di setiap gedung, di depannya kami sediakan wastafel untuk cuci tangan sesuai dengan standar yang berlaku. Di Unisla ini ada kegiatan-kegiatan usaha mikro, kecil, dan menengah, baik yang dilakukan oleh dosen, mahasiswa, maupun penyediaan makanan dan minuman, yaitu koperasi dan minimarket Unisla, serta kantin yang ada di Unisla, semuanya menggunakan standar, sehingga kami namakan koperasi dan UMKM serta kantin sehat Unisla dengan kontrol kualitas makanan dan minuman oleh tim kesehatan. Selain itu, pengunjung di kantin juga diterapkan protokol kesehatan yang ketat, wajib bermasker, dan kita melakukan physical distancing. Bapak dan Ibu, di Unisla juga disediakan sarana ibadah berupa masjid. Masjid pun kita perlakukan protokol kesehatan yang ada, yaitu dengan melakukan pembatasan bagi jamaah yang keluar masuk yang dikontrol ketat, penerapan physical distancing pada waktu sholat, baik sholat jamaah biasa maupun sholat Jumat. Kapasitas yang kami perlakukan hanya 40% dari kapasitas masjid yang ada. Di Unisla terdapat pondok pesantren. Pondok pesantren pun kita jadikan pondok pesantren Tangguh, di mana pondok pesantren mahasiswa ini biasanya pada keadaan normal kapasitasnya 450 mahasiswa, tetapi di dalam masa COVID Corona 19 ini kita isi maksimum 90 orang per angkatan. Penerapan standar kontrol kesehatan juga kita perlakukan di kampus pondok pesantren kampus Unisla. Kemudian pembentukan tim kesehatan, kami melakukan pembentukan tim kesehatan reaksi cepat dan tanggap darurat. Ada call center masing-masing fakultas dan satuan kerja yang ada di Unisla, dan ada pusat penanganan kedaruratan yang terkendali, di di mana kita bekerja sama dengan puskesmas, rumah sakit, dan fasilitas kesehatan yang lainnya. Serta kami akan bekerja sama dan koordinasi dengan gugus tugas COVID-19 Kabupaten Lamongan. Bapak dan Ibu, di Unisla kami siapkan klinik kesehatan. Manakala terjadi hal-hal yang tidak diinginkan, maka klinik kesehatan kami ready atau siap 24 jam dengan fasilitas 6 bed, petugas kesehatan, dan dokter jaga. Apabila di klinik ini sudah tidak bisa kita tangani, maka kita juga menyiapkan kendaraan untuk reaksi cepat berupa ambulan reaksi cepat dengan standar ambulan pada penanganan COVID-19 dan ambulan mobil sehat. Dan di Unisla juga kami siapkan ruang isolasi dengan perlengkapan isolasi kesehatan yang memadai. Itulah Bapak Ibu fasilitas yang kami sediakan di kampus Unisla dalam rangka kita menyesuaikan dengan keadaan, karena COVID Corona 19 ini sampai hari ini masih ada di sekitar kita, dan dengan kita menjadi kampus yang kita siapkan menjadi kampus tangguh Semeru Unisla, maka kegiatan-kegiatan bisa kita lakukan di antara kita di masa pandemi COVID-19 ini. Bapak Ibu, kami persilakan untuk melihat kondisi kampus tangguh Unisla yang ada. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Selamat pagi Pak Anam, selamat pagi Pak Wisnu. Selamat pagi Pak Dekan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Mr. Haji Bambang Komulya SHM, Director of Lamongan Islamic University. Mr. Dr. Han, the Dean of Language and Training and Pedagogy of Lamongan Islamic University. And also Mr. Dr. Husnu Juli, as the Chief of International Relationship, Lamongan Islamic University, and honorable to all the speakers, I want to say hello first to Mr. Patrick. Hello, Mr. Patrick. Can you listen my voice? Okay, yeah. The next speaker is Mr. The next speaker name is Mrs. William or Fair William. And the third guest speaker is Alita from Philippines. Okay, all the participants, are you ready now to join with our webinar or international webinar? Welcome to Lamongan Islamic University. Today we are going to start our discussion. In this webinar, it will start at 7 and until at 9. Okay. For the first, our meeting today by reciting Surah Al-Fatihah for the Muslim, and for other religion, we can pray together in defense of our religion. Praying start. Thank you very much. I hope everyone is okay in this beautiful morning. And then the next is welcoming remarks by Mr. Haji Bambang Eko Mulyono SHMH, the Rector of Lamongan Islamic University. To Mr. Bambang, time is yours.
Terima kasih. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, la haula wa la quwata illa billah. Selamat pagi, salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. The Honorable, our keynote speaker, Mrs. Beth Stussman William from Indianapolis, USA, Mr. Patrick Kennedy from Indianapolis, USA, and Miss Alita from Philippines. Thank you for your participation and your attention. Dr. Husnu Yuli, moderator, Dekan Fakultas Keguruan Ilmu Pendidikan, Dr. Matkan Ali, dan seluruh panitia, and dearest webinar participation. First of all, in the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, as Rector of Universitas Islam Lamongan, I would like to welcome all of you to International Webinar 2020, which topic, How School in the World Face the New Normal Learning. Para peserta webinar yang kami hormati, baik yang melalui Zoom ataupun melalui YouTube, seperti kita ketahui bersama, sejak COVID-19 pertama kali terjadi di Wuhan, pada Desember 2019 telah dinyatakan sebagai global pandemic oleh WHO mulai Maret 2020. Pada waktu yang sama, kasus pertama pandemi COVID-19 ditemukan di Indonesia pada bulan Maret tahun 2020 dan pada perjalanannya mengancam segala segi kehidupan, baik kesehatan, ekonomi, sosial budaya, termasuk di dalamnya proses pendidikan di dalam seluruh negara di dunia ini. Seperti kita ketahui sampai hari ini, vaksin COVID-19 baru tahap penelitian dan belum bisa diterapkan lebih lanjut. Oleh sebab itu, Presiden Republik Indonesia, Bapak Jokowi mengajak kita bersama sebelum vaksin COVID-19 ini sudah ditemukan dan sudah bisa diterapkan kepada kita semua, maka kita tidak boleh berhenti dan kita harus mulai bisa hidup bersama, hidup berdampingan dengan pandemi COVID-19 ini, termasuk di dalam dunia pendidikan. Oleh sebab itu, maka kita semua harus menyiapkan diri untuk bisa melakukan hidup bersama-sama, melakukan proses kegiatan ekonomi, proses pendidikan di antara pandemi COVID-19 yang hari ini masih ada di sekitar kita. Certainly, I would like to congratulate and thank the Committee in English Department Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, UNISLA, for the tremendous effort and hard working in organizing this international webinar in the middle of pandemic. Our great hope, after this event took place, UNISLA can collaborate in course development, research and publication, and innovation with our keynote speakers. Next time, I would glad to invite the keynote speaker visit Lamongan. Yeah, finally, I apologize in their mistake that does not please. The ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the international webinar. Keep wearing mask, physical distancing, washing hand, and stay healthy. Selamat mengikuti webinar. Terima kasih kepada Ibu Bets yang sudah pernah datang ke Lamongan, sudah pernah datang ke Unisla. Mungkin kita masih mengingat beberapa tahun yang lalu kita pernah bersama-sama jalan-jalan di Lamongan. Terima kasih, terima kasih. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much to Mr. Bambang as the Rector of Lamongan Islamic University. And the next, I'm pleased to Mr. Dr. Mahan as the Dean of Language Training and Education of Lamongan Islamic University.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. Especially for our University President, Mr. Bambang Eko Mulyono, Mrs. Beth William, Mr. Patrick Kennedy, and Alita. Thank you for your availability as a resource person. And I just want to add some welcoming speech because Pak Bambang has so many information and hope, I think. Mrs. Beth, Patrick, and Alita, the background, and for the participants, all the participants, the background or motivation of this webinar is on, I think it is very simple motivation. How to overcome the difficulty of school in the problem of COVID-19. You know that education and social is very close related, and by new normal era in Indonesia and in the world, I think we have to adapt with the social change, with the social culture. And from the research person, I hope you all can inform or give what is it, foreigner insight, foreigner version, how to overcome in your own countries, because here the matter of our difficulty is on culture, yeah, on social problem. Mostly parents now got trouble with their children, got trouble with the situation because it is not as usual as they do every morning go deliver their children, but right now they have to overcome home learning. So I think we have to refresh our mind right now in 2 hours. We do hope and thank you, Mrs. Bath and Patrick and Alita can give our again give us new insight in overcoming the new normal era here. Thank you, Pak Anam, and once again, thank you for the committee, Pak Rector, and the resource person involved for the participants. Welcome to our faculty and have a nice seminar. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much to Mr. Madhan. Yeah. And the next agenda. Yeah. is discussion with some guest speakers, and will be moderated by Mr. Husnu. And before that, if you want to see the simulation, what is the simulation to face the new normal? Yeah, let's see this video first. Okay, please. The simulation video of Junior High School 1 Lamongan, and also the simulation to face the new normal, Unisla or Lamongan Islamic University. Please. Hello, the operator, please. Okay, now the next, please, to Mr. Husnu to moderate. Okay, now the next, please, Mr. Husnu to moderate.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera. Good morning, good evening, magandang umaga. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Husnu Setio. I will be the moderator for this webinar. On behalf of the community of the International Webinar Series and the English Department of Lamongan Islamic University, I would like to welcome to everyone to our International Webinar Series on how schools in the world face the new normal learning. Especially, welcome to the English teachers, headmasters, school administrators, parents, and policy makers from over Indonesia. There are more than 500 participants who are joining in this webinar through the Zoom streaming on YouTube. And selamat pagi semuanya. I would like also take this opportunity to express our gratitude to Mr. Haji Bambang Eko Mulyono, SHM Hum, Dr. Candidate, Director of Universitas Islam Lamongan, who successfully bring this campus to the national level and expectedly in the some years next to international level. And our thanks also goes to Mr. Dr. Madakan Ali, MSc, the Dean of the Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, for his big support to this webinar, and also to Mr. Abdullah Fari, the head of English department, the head of the committee, to facilitating this webinar. And also thanks to Mr. Adiswito, the head of Lamongan Education Authorities, and to Mr. Sun Haji, the head of Lamongan Ministry of Religion. In this valuable time, I would like to greet our great guest speakers from the United States of America and from Philippines. First, Mrs. Beth Statman William. Yes. Good evening, Mrs. Beth.
Selamat pagi.
Selamat pagi. Alhamdulillah.
Assalamualaikum.
How are you doing?
I'm very well, and I so much appreciate you inviting me to participate. I miss all of my friends in Lamongan. God bless you all, and I look forward to tonight. So thank you so much.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, Beth loved Indonesia very much. Yeah. She twice visited Lamongan and Unisla. And as a chance, I have also visited her twice in Indianapolis. Since she ever visited Lamongan School, she knows well the difference of the psychological feeling of the teachers and students here and in the US when the school will reopen soon. I read that the Board of Education in MSD voted to delay the start of school from Monday, August 3rd to the Thursday, August 13th, 2030. So I think Beth will be very happy for this because Beth disagrees if US schools reopen soon before a COVID vaccine invented. And the next speaker is Mr. Patrick Kennedy. Good evening, Patrick.
Assalamu alaikum. Good evening.
Waalaikumsalam. Yeah. Patrick is the teacher of Metropolitan School District of Lower Township. He will tell us how the US schools should be doing in the facing new normal learning. And Patrick is happy to share his best practice of using STEM in his school. Through this STEM, the distant learning or e-learning become helpful during this pandemic. So we will learn much from Patrick how to overcome the problem during the pandemic in learning. And one of the certified STEM schools is Belzer Middle School. Belzer Middle School, I ever visited this school, yeah, with my wife and Beth 5 years ago. And then Patrick's also a learning and information specialist. So he will tell us about e-learning and distant learning, I think. And the third, Mrs. Alita Eslabiaga, she still has a problem with come into the Zoom. So, but I would like to greet my best friend from Cebu, Philippines. That is Alita Eslabiaga. Oh, Alita.
Hi.
Magandang umaga, Ains. Magandang umaga.
Magandang umaga,
Maganda.
my friend.
Okay. She is my best friend from Philippines, and she was a teacher in Cebu City National Science High School. This school is very good school, but the best school, because I know the students when we went to Hiroshima and to Hawaii, yeah, their students are very, very smart. Ya, kalau di sini namanya sekolah RSBI, International School, ya, in Cebu. I and Alita become the research advisor and facilitator for Partnership for Youth, Shaping Vision 2030 Hiroshima Forum in 2017 and in Honolulu in 2016. Yeah, she will tell us when the Philippine schools will reopen and what the schools should be doing to face the new normal learning. So welcome to this webinar, Mrs.
Yes,
Alita.
glad to be part of your webinar.
Yeah, you're very beautiful today, this morning. Yeah. Okay, in this occasion also, I want to say that as the speakers just said that all their speeches are the representative of their own opinions. Yeah, not the institutional representative. I think we all understand and agree with this. Yeah, because if there is, what is it? That is the representative of their opinions. There is. Yeah. And then this webinar is to promote a better understanding among the teachers, headmasters, and policymakers who participate in the webinar in preparing the schools in the new normal era. The participant will get insight from best practices that have been done by the best teachers in the world like this. And then moving on to the agenda, the webinar will be divided into 2 sessions. The first is the presentation sessions, and the second is the question and answer sessions. The first presentation session will be presented by Patrick Kennedy, and then the second will be spoken by Beth Williams, and the third is by Alita Labega. And personally, this is a blessing and a proud moment to be able to gather with the best teachers in the world in my birthday, and in Unisla University for celebrating the fourth lustrum. Unisla hold international webinar series like this. So the respective listeners who are participating in this webinar and this live webinar, here comes to the first session. We invite Mr. Patrick Kennedy to speak. Mr. Kennedy, time is yours.
Okay, thank you for having me. I'm excited for the opportunity to share with you guys a little bit about what I have learned during this time that has been stressful for us all. But I'm also excited to learn from the rest of you about how what you've taken from this experience, because this is certainly something that we have been all, I think, equally underprepared for. It has taken a lot of us obviously taken our patience to test, and has certainly leveled the playing field, to say the least. So I'm excited to share with you a little bit about my journey and what I have sort of been working on with my school district alongside Beth, and to share with you guys a little bit about what I've learned and taken away, and then what I hope to implement in the fall as we return to school. Share with you my screen. One moment, please.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so a little bit about me, and I appreciate the introduction, but I am Patrick Kennedy. I have taught for 10 years in Belzer Middle School. 7 of those years were as a social studies teacher in that building, and that is where I know Beth from, who has connected me with everyone here, and I am obviously graciously excited to present here. But the last 3 years, I have served as an e-learning and instruction specialist and information specialist. And in my role, really what I am charged to do is to manage e-learning, which has certainly been something that was a bit of a novelty before this. It's obviously not going to be much of a novelty anymore. We will all be familiar with e-learning by the time that we go back to the new normal. But I have been charged with e-learning management, helping teachers better understand the way to use technology in order to connect with children. But another thing that I'm also responsible for is helping teachers grow, helping them develop, learning new best practices as we find them in the district, and helping teachers find ways to engage with those practices in their classrooms. So that's pretty much my role. Also, related to e-learning in our journey in this process has been just STEM improvement in my school. So that is a large part of what we do in my school building, and certainly what my role is there as well. A little bit about Belzer Middle School, and I hope Beth can add to this a little bit. But we are a STEM certified school in Indianapolis, Indiana, and we have about 1,200 students that show up to our school on a regular day. There are a little bit more than 100 employees. About 65 of those are teachers. And our students' education really focuses on collaboration between students, real world authentic tasks, and that are explicitly connected to work opportunities in their future. And then STEM learning challenges, which are really hands-on. And so all of these things really are, I think, what we would say in our school building that we value. But these are all things that are certainly challenged in an environment where you can't physically get to the school. Each of these things is much more difficult in an e-learning environment without some really careful planning. So we certainly, in our school, we used a lot of technology, and it's something I'm very proud of. That's obviously, as I shared, that's the work that I personally engage in. But all of our students get to use this technology as part of working together. And so really those things that I just shared in the last segment that we're really proud of are very much a part of how our students learn every day. They get to build things together. They get to design and model and take things apart and to understand how they work. They get to fly drones and use computers, and all of this happens very much in collaboration with one another. This is something, again, that we're especially proud of in the district I work for, and something we push teachers to do. but it's also something that we plan to be happening in person. And so when the schools closed, all of this was sort of ripped away from us in very much the same way that every other school experienced that. Just a little bit about what this looked like in Indianapolis, and I apologize, it's difficult to see that last picture there. In March 10th and March 12th, we had some people in our district that had been studying the rise of COVID and the coronavirus globally, but also in the United States, and we're concerned that there could be a disruption to the learning process. And so what we decided to do in the school district that we're in, it was pull about 40 teachers out of a total of 1,000 to work on 10 days of emergency curriculum. And so we pulled those teachers. They were given a total of about 8 hours to prepare 10 lessons at every grade level. And so that ended up being just under 100 lessons for kindergarten through 8th grade. And we ended up needing to use that on March 16th. So that was the first date that all of our schools were shut down. And this was fortunately right before our spring break process. And so we had enough curriculum to make it to our spring break, which gave us 3 calendar weeks in order to prepare for the next steps. And our parents and families were obviously very pleased to find out that the curriculum was prepared and was posted and available to them during the time period that their children were home. As many of you guys probably experienced, that was a stressor for many of our families to adapt to, as much as it was for educators and for children to learn in a different environment. So we ended up continuing that process of developing lessons from a centralized location. So our district offices were fully engaged with the planning of every single lesson, which was very different from how our teachers and our students were used to learning. In our schools, we very much have the autonomy and the freedom to teach however it is that you would like, and to connect with kids however you can. And this was sort of pulled away from them. The content was provided by the school district and posted on the internet. And the teacher was very much in a role where they were expected to help the students as best they could, but they weren't really engaged in the planning process. And this was fortunate because many of our teachers are also parents and have families that were adapting to this change as well. But it's also one that changed their lives and disrupt their role in our school system too. And so we made some changes as we went. We added some things like video supports and scaffolds for our special needs students, but also for our English learners. And then there were some things like video or templates of lessons so that individual teachers can make it feel more like their normal classroom. And so actually what I have here is an example of one of those lessons. Oh, sorry. I have an example of one of the lessons that I can share with you just so you can get a sense of what sort of software that we use and what that looks like on a regular basis. And so I can share with you, I'm sorry. So I guess I can share with you, this is a website that we posted it on, and this is one of the things that was pictured. But all of our lessons were posted online for families to see. And we kept this up for all of the spring from March 16th all the way through until the end of the quarantine period for us. And that really brought us to May. And so just an example of a lesson is kind of posted here. It has a lot of resources, but also video and supports for kids to be able to engage with the content. And then our teachers ended up having to learn Zoom on the fly, but essentially what we had created were packets that were available online. And that felt very impersonal to many of our teachers. And obviously they were frustrated not to be able to connect with the kids and to help them as much as they would like. So we made quite a few adjustments to this for the fall that we're excited to put into place. But really what this sort of launched was a conversation among teachers about what would really need to be different for the fall. And so and you can see there's a collection of different people's homes that you kind of get a window into, but we had a conversation that included 65 teachers from many different grade levels, and they were kind of given a chance to make recommendations based on their experiences in the spring of what needed to go differently. And there were, at the level that I participated at, with about 25 other educators, there were about 100 recommendations that our team made, but really they focused on just a handful of things. So if you can think about what I shared at the beginning of this presentation about really what our school is like and what we value, these kind of revolve around those same ideas. So we felt strongly that motivating students to try their best when we couldn't be there to help them was a really big focus of our time, but we needed to improve at that. And so we got into some of the latest academic research about this that we could, and started to brainstorm what that might look like. We also decided that one of the things we needed to get better at was tracking their progress in a way that was positive instead of negative. As I'm sure your other guests and you guys have probably experienced, this was a particularly stressful time for our students, and they had a hard time really feeling connected to the work and feeling motivated each day. And certainly when kids are given freedom and a chance to manage their own workload and work without a teacher standing right next to them, their motivation is really an important factor in this. And so we really wanted to make sure that the work that we were giving them and the way that we were tracking how well they were doing was inspiring instead of something that may cause depression. And then the last theme of our work was that, excuse me, the last of our work was really surrounding creating opportunities to help them work together and to reintroduce that collaboration that is such a part of our school on a regular basis. As all those pictures showed you on the last slide, these are really things that our students value, but also our school system values, and things that we felt strongly about as educators to call for in the reopening process. So all of these were happily accepted by our Board of Education, and we began making plans to put these into place. And one of the things that we were encouraged to do was to experiment a little bit. And so our community really needed some help. They needed to be uplifted a little bit. And so what we tried to do was create a program for the youth in our community who may have missed out on some of the experiences from school, may have been depressed, may have been disengaged because of the school being closed. And we tried to find a way to reach out with them, create fun activities that also taught some academic skills. And so we created activities that, like I said, focused on fun. And some examples of these were making music together on the computer in order to build collaboration. So this obviously built fluency with the computers, but also taught collaboration as well. We had activities that encouraged them to use grocery stores' websites, which have become better in the last few weeks, to create a budget and to plan out shopping experiences and to challenge themselves to create the best grocery lists that made the most efficient use of money. And since many of their families have been, struggling to budget their money in a time where some people's work and paychecks were disrupted. And then we also had them focus on doing some things like writing letters to a friend, and that obviously built English learning skill. But going back to the idea of motivating these students and acknowledging their growth in a positive way, we decided to award badges instead of grades, which is very different in our culture. That's not something that schools generally do. We are very much traditional in the sense that we, give A, B, C, D, F grades for the students' work. And so what we challenged our teachers to do was to acknowledge mastery by way of badges. And really that looks like just a little award. So each student had what we call a badge board, and they had like essentially a digital sticker book to kind of display the awards that they have been getting for the activities they did. And this really helped to encourage them to celebrate successes instead of focusing on maybe the negative that a bad mark would get or a bad grade would get. Also, a really kind of a special use of the badges was a partnership with many of our local businesses. We had lots of donations from local companies that understood that our community was hurting, and one of the things that they did is allowed the students to trade in their badges for things like ice cream and small prizes from local shops and stores. And so that really created another incentive to celebrate some of the things that the kids were working on. Ultimately, we had more than 700 students in our community that participated, and they completed more than 2,800 activities. And so when you consider that this is supposed to be their vacation, and that there were 700 students that did 2,800 school assignments during this time period, we were really excited that that proved that students were motivated to connect with each other and to get back to work if we provided some conditions that would sort of acknowledge their effort. These are some data points that you can see that just from the students that we worked with at the middle school level. We had fantastic participation from our 7th grade, and then also from our 8th grade, they really kept that up. So we had great, well-rounded participation, and it really was a good experience for kids and for staff members to connect with one another and to kind of have something positive to rally around. And really, that brings us to the fall. And so we obviously made some resolutions as the district as to really what we would do in order to reopen and how we can think creatively about how to engage our students. But in Indiana, as it is throughout a lot of the world, we are facing even more uncertain times than we did in the spring. As Beth will speak to in a moment, there is definitely a concern among our staff and in our communities about returning to school. But there's also, uncertainty about the health effects that everyone in our society is, going to be impacted by. In Indianapolis, where we live, we're currently having a surge in COVID cases, and this is a grave concern to everyone, but also certainly the schools that are poised to return in some regard. Our school district, as was mentioned earlier, has made many adjustments in its plans. We've decided to delay the start of school, which gave us time to make some thoughtful arrangements and consideration to the manner in which we'll reopen. But we're not exactly sure what that'll look like yet. There are some students that will return in person. There will undoubtedly be smaller groups and smaller classes that will need to be arranged in order to make that happen. And then there are some students that, for a variety of health reasons or personal choices, won't choose to return at all, and they will expect to do their work virtually. And so the lessons that we learned from March and in the summer are very important. We took the recommendations that came out of the spring in our reopening process, and also kind of paired them with the experiment that we were able to run in the summertime. And we really came down to 3 really clear features that needed to be included in our reopening plan for the fall. And I'm excited to share with you that our school has taken some steps to implement these in the environment that we all work in every day. Number 1 is student choice. An exciting thing, I think, for any teacher is to be able to offer choice to their students. We all feel strongly that that there are certain things that every student needs to learn. But one of the things that we learned this summer is that offering students choices and giving them chances to have fun while they're learning is going to make that experience even better. And if you have to engage a child by way of a computer, it needs to be fun in order to get their attention. And so our teachers worked really hard to really better understand exactly the skills that kids needed to learn, and then how to tie those skills into lessons that are fun. So that became a really important feature of what we planned this summer. Another one was the idea of badging. So badging, again, just the little sticker, the little reward for participating in an activity and for showing mastery is a great way to honor and to celebrate learning. And it also makes them feel accomplished and makes them hungry to do more, especially important when they're alone and on a computer, perhaps without an adult or certainly without a teacher in the room with them. So this is something that we really are looking forward to using. And then the last thing is just creating opportunities for students to work together and to collaborate virtually as part of everything that we do. And so this is important to help students feel better connected and to be familiar with everything as we transition back to the classroom. We know that there's really no substitute for great teaching, and we really would love for that to be in the classroom as much as possible. But as we are waiting to transition back to the classroom, creating opportunities where students feel familiar with one another, using tools like Zoom to better connect with their teachers and with their classmates is going to make that reentry process back into the schools, when it is possible from a health standpoint, that much easier for all parties, for teachers, for students alike. And so this is really our plan. And like I said, I'm excited to share with you just a few small things that we're doing to change what education looks like in the new normal, as the title came to be. And like I said, I'm excited to hear some of your ideas and some of your questions as well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Patrick Kennedy. Yeah, give applause. Wonderful, wonderful. Patrick Kennedy have an inspiring event, that is a virtual summer camp experiment. Yeah, I think this inspiring summer camp can be imitated in Indonesia, and we will discuss more other days about how to give badges to the students and how to implement how many student can be accessed. You said that there are 700 and there are 2,800 activities. It's wonderful. Okay, moving on to the next agenda is the presentation held by Beth William. But before that, we will see the video. Yeah, first. Yeah, let's see the video first.
It's a virus that started in China. And then something happened that it got spread all over the world. And now it's turned into this very serious virus.
Well, my friends told me about it. They're like, oh, have you heard about coronavirus? I was like, no, what's that?
After a couple of days, you'll start feeling better, but then it comes back even worse. Coronavirus's weakness is, so a lot of the people are like, I'll be fine from it, but then they could spread it. Well, I feel really nervous and stuff. I feel a little worried. I feel scared. I've been feeling a little bit worried. Partly it feels kind of cool because I get to live through something that'll probably be in history. It's going to the country so fast, it just scares me. And my grandma, she's on the older side, and we don't want to spread germs to her. I don't want to get it, and I don't want my family to get it, and I hope they find a cure. I'm worried about my family getting infected. If I get infected, then that's trouble for me.
I've heard people with already medical conditions who already have medical conditions could it'll be even worse for them. And
the most that I'm worried about is that this will go on for a long time. We're just at the start of it. Well, usually if I think about it, I would actually start about to cry, so I take a breath. I just want it to be over with as soon as possible.
Adults should be following the rules and then making sure their kids are following the rules.
I think they're already doing this with trying mixing medicines. Because what if all of a sudden a new type of... They should really help their kids know what to do. I feel they should tell people to wash their hands. I think they just should stay calm, get regular exercises in areas. Technically, if they mess something up, we're the next adults, so we have to fix it.
Okay. time is yours.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, time is yours.
Thank you for today and for participating and welcoming Patrick and myself. We're so happy to be here. My role is very different than Patrick's. I'm a school psychologist, and I generally see children one at a time. I test and help diagnose with other specialists different disabilities. So my area is very different than Patrick's and very narrow in scope. I do think, though, that the pandemic is going to have a great effect on the work that I do and the other people in my department do, because I think children, families, and teachers and other staff have been hugely affected by the pandemic, understandably. Their personal lives have been disrupted. There's a great amount of fear. Many people have lost their jobs, so they don't have the income that they had before to help provide for their families. Right now is the biggest concern, I think, that I'm hearing is about what happens when school is to start. What I am understanding from the teachers that I speak to is that teachers want to go back to work. They love their work, but they're afraid. From the parent perspective, parents want their children to be in school. They think that's the best environment, and so do teachers, but the parents are afraid. They're afraid that their children may get sick. They're afraid that their children may be sick and bring home some illness to other people in the household. So these are concerns from everyone. We all want the same thing. We want school to happen in the school buildings, but there's a risk to that. And the question is that risk worth it at this time? There are different models of education that can be put in place during this time of pandemic in terms of virtual learning, in-school learning, or a combination. And parents in our schools are having a choice of whether they want to send their children back to school, to the buildings, or if they want to use computer technology education. I think that it's good that people have a choice. I still think it's a very difficult decision for people to make. I guess one of the concerns I have is that our buildings are very different than the buildings, at least that I saw in Indonesia. Our buildings are much more confined.
Open.
The windows are not open.
Right.
The halls are busier. In
Yes.
Indonesia, you see many children out and about, and there's the open air. I think that things are, I think it would be an easier environment to provide in-school education in Indonesia than it would be in the model that we have in the United States. And I'd be interested in hearing Husnu's opinion on that, since he did spend time.
Jerome Lalu has been an educator for more than 30 years.
I'm excited. Let's get back. Get to where they belong.
But without question.
Sorry, yeah, it is in the second video.
We are adapting the entire.
Yeah, to give a description. Okay, come on. The video is okay. Come on. Yeah. Yes, to show the difference between the building of the school in US and Indonesia. Yeah. Okay, next video. Come on.
Time and my career as an educator, but this is one of a kind.
Lalu, a principal for Lawrence Township Schools, is part of the district's committee to help plan a safe return.
All our energy and effort has been how can we make our students safe and our staff safe.
And actually, at this school, Skiles Test Elementary, students are in class.
Good job.
A summer school Spanish immersion camp. Kids are masked up, their desks are spaced apart. Lalu says it's been a helpful trial run, but on August 13th, regular classes begin. And a lot about school will be different, from the restrooms.
You can see some of the stalls are closed.
To the lunchroom.
There will be a dot in each corner, one dot here for a student, and another dot with the zigzags right here, another dot, so they're all spread 6 feet apart.
To the hallways.
Students will be walking through the hallways, socially distanced with 6 feet, at least 6 feet apart.
Even during recess, students are required to keep a mask on. It'll be an adjustment for students and for teachers as well.
I'm really excited to see my kids. I really missed that part.
Ida Ferran teaches 5th grade. She says the biggest change will be having to stay back while teaching.
We're used to working very closely with our kids, working in groups with our kids, and having that small group and one-to-one. And keeping that social distance is going to be a little bit challenging.
Administrators say e-learning will help keep class sizes down as much as 40% smaller at some schools. And it is important to know that policies and procedures will be different across districts and schools. So if you are a parent with concerns, you definitely want to reach out to your child's district.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Give comment.
Yeah, that's a good example of one of our schools and one of our administrators. And you can see people are trying very hard to put all the correct things in place. However, my concern as a psychologist is that we need to take into account the nature of children. The nature of children is not to be far apart, it's to be close. It's to touch, it's to play. It's to not always keep the mask up. They might have the mask drop down or take the mask and play with it. I'm concerned about some of these things that we're asking children to do that is not in their nature, and I'm not sure that it will provide a safe environment for children as much as we want it to. And we can provide the rules and hopefully people will comply, but I think we need to account for the developmental nature of children when we think about these things. I think that children are under stress. They desperately want to go back to school, but they also have concerns that they've heard from news media, from their parents. And I think it's important to give children an opportunity to express those concerns. And as adults, we need to present a calm presentation, give them some structured things on what they need to do in terms of safety rules. I think also to maintain a regular schedule for families and children, to not allow them to get out of their schedule. They should be getting up, getting dressed, doing the normal day-to-day things, and have some structure to their environment, I think is very helpful. And to be outside some every day. I think in Indonesia, people are outside more than in the United States. So for us, it's not quite as easy for people to, have their kids experience outdoor life as much. If they're living in the city, sometimes it's not safe if they're not supervised. So I think minimizing television and some media, especially when we're doing a lot of things virtually. There needs to be time away from computers, away from phones, away from those types of technology games, and more face-to-face interaction as much as that's possible. I think another suggestion I would make to American children and children around the world is to find something positive that you can do to help your community. That may be writing letters to people, making something small to take to someone who is shut in. Find something that you can do or that children can do as a community service. Because I think when we give of ourselves, it helps ourselves. Not only helps others, but it helps the giver. So those are some suggestions that I would make. I think probably when I go back to work, I'm guessing that most of my job, like I said, is testing and diagnosing and working with other specialists. But I expect that when I do go back to work, there will be probably some small group counseling groups that meet in order to allow children the opportunity to express their concerns about what is happening during this time of pandemic, because it's terribly stressful and lonely and unusual for all of us. And I think for children, sometimes they are, you know, in a position where they're not able to express that freely. They don't want to worry their parents by talking about it, but they will talk to a stranger or a counselor or a therapist.
Okay, yeah. So I think it is, yeah, I see that it is not easy for the US teachers and students to open Zoom because the condition of the building, yeah, is very different with Indonesia. And then I understand with your psychological feeling that you have now, Beth, because you every day will meet with the student to have a consultation. Yeah, so it is very, very risky if you always meet with the students. And also I agree with you that the nature of the students is always close to each other. Yeah, that is why we hope that the vaccine will be invented soon, and then everything will come what I say, like a normal. That is. And the second video, it's okay. I will show the third video. Ya, video yang ketiga untuk yang dari Amerika. Yeah, okay. I will show the difference between the how the what I said health protocols, yeah, held by the U.S. schools and in Indonesian schools. Let's see this video, and then you will give some comments to the Indonesian schools. Yeah. A video from SMPN 1 Lamongan.
Aku list meeting, Fred.
So Beth, William, and Patrick is still in the same school, in Belzer school?
Selamat pagi. Wah, sudah cukup lama ya kita tidak
There's a simulation of the school in Lamongan.
selalu dan meraih prestasi dengan slogan sekolah kita, Every day is winning experience. Pengalaman berprestasi. Pada era kenormalan baru di dunia pendidikan, SMP Negeri 1 Lamongan siap menerapkan protokol kesehatan sejak berangkat dari rumah hingga pulang kembali ke rumah. Siswa bisa bersekolah dengan aman, orang tua pun tenang. Bisa kembali berangkat ke sekolah, pastinya harus ceria. Eits, tapi ingat, tetap patuhi dan terapkan protokol kesehatan ya. Sampai di depan sekolah, sudah bersiap petugas sterilisasi yang siap menyemprot sepatu dan tas kita dengan cairan disinfektan. Petugas pemeriksa suhu badan, ada petugas pemeriksa kelengkapan starter pack new normal, ada juga petugas pembagi face shield yang harus kita pakai mulai masuk ke sekolah hingga pulang sekolah. Jika sudah dinyatakan steril dan aman, barulah kita bisa masuk ke sekolah. Memasuki lobi sekolah, seperti biasa, sudah berbaris tim salam takdim, menyambut dan menyapa, Sugeng Enjeng. Tapi tanpa berjabat tangan ya, dan tetap menjaga jarak aman. Sebelum masuk ke dalam kelas, jangan lupa cuci tangan dulu ya. Sekolah kami menyediakan banyak tempat cuci tangan yang ditempatkan di depan masing-masing kelas, dan ada juga tempat cuci tangan portable lengkap dengan air mengalir, sabun, dan juga tisu kering. Memperbanyak tempat cuci tangan merupakan upaya sekolah kami untuk meminimalisir antrian dan kerumunan. Semua wajib menerapkan protokol kesehatan, baik itu siswa, guru, dan seluruh karyawan sekolah. Untuk sekolah menengah, kelas maksimal hanya diisi 15-18 siswa. Tatanan bangku juga harus berjarak minimal 1,5 meter. Tidak boleh bertukar alat tulis beserta perlengkapan yang lainnya ya. Ruang guru dan kantor juga sudah disesuaikan dengan protokol kesehatan loh. Jadi, dijamin aman dan tetap nyaman. Oh iya, sebelum memulai KBM, kami terlebih dahulu melakukan sholat duha berjamaah yang tentunya tetap menerapkan protokol kesehatan. Untuk melawan virus COVID-19, selain memperkuat imun, perlu juga untuk memperkuat iman. Kegiatan belajar mengajar dimulai. Kami selalu mengawali kegiatan pembelajaran dengan membaca doa, menyanyikan lagu Indonesia Raya, dan Mars PPK sebagai bentuk penanaman karakter sebagai siswa yang religius, berintegritas, dan nasionalis. Sebagai sekolah rujukan, masing-masing ruang kelas sudah terpasang AC dan sistem KBM kami juga sudah berbasis IT loh. Belajar jadi nyaman dan gak ketinggalan zaman. Bel istirahat berbunyi. Saatnya makan siang. Pada protokol kesehatan pembelajaran di era kenormalan baru, setiap siswa, guru, dan tenaga kependidikan di sekolah kami membawa bekal masing-masing dari rumah agar lebih terjamin kebersihan dan nilai gizinya. Bel pulang sekolah berbunyi. Pada pembelajaran di era kenormalan baru, waktu KBM kami.
Okay, that is the video from SMPN 1 Lamongan, and I think that know well this school.
Yes.
You ever visit this
Yeah, it makes
school
me
twice?
very happy to see it. Yeah, it makes me very happy to see it. And Husnu, it also reminds me of, I told you this when I was in Indonesia, that I feel like American schools have much to learn from Indonesian schools. I see things in that video that would be good ideas for our community that we have not put in place yet. I do. It makes me feel very good to see that school, and thank you. And tell her we have a vaccine very soon.
Yeah, the next webinar will be we invite Mr. Anam, and then also we speak with you about how to compare this the health protocols held by the Indonesian school and in American school. And maybe in 1 hour we will discuss, and it will be very interesting to share to each other. Yeah, that is okay. Enough, Beth? Okay. Next session, moving on to the next sessions, will be held spoken by Mrs. Alita Labiaga. Mrs. Alita?
Hi.
Hi, yeah, okay, time is yours.
For a moment.
Okay,
good
time
morning
is yours.
to all.
Morning.
Glad to be part of this. Yes, good morning to all. Good morning to United States with Miss Beth, Sir Patrick, and the rest of the participants. Greetings from here in the Philippines. I'm sharing for a moment. You see my presentation?
Yes, I see it. Get it.
Okay. the new normal learning that we are trying to adapt, that everyone is trying to adapt worldwide, not only in the Philippines, but also in all the corners of the world. I am Miss Alita Islabiaga from Philippines, and I would like to talk about the new normal learning, and I hope I could share good inputs to you. Can you use Mentimeter? Is it okay to use Mentimeter?
Yeah.
Please take part to answer the question. How do you feel the new normal of learning?
That's for it.
Good.
But actually, we hope everything will be normal. Yeah. But we are very worried.
Okay, so I guess not all the participants will be engaged in Mentimeter, so we'll
Okay,
just
yeah, open,
leave it.
okay. Ya, mungkin dibuka beberapa. This one. Bu Salisa.
We'll take a look with the answers later.
Okay, ya, ya.
It's wrong. My screen's not moving. For a moment.
Okay, okay.
What's wrong? Can you move to the next? So someone is recording their answers?
Ya, jadi buka aja deh ya. Ada beberapa siswa masih peserta dibuka, mungkin bisa dialog sama si Alita.
There?
Ya, tolong unmute beberapa peserta. Tuh. Unmute beberapa peserta untuk dialog dengan ya Alita. Soalnya dia masalah dengan slide-nya.
Okay. Can I go back with my slide?
You can use escape
Is
first.
there a record of the answers? Okay, we can just skip this. Moment. I cannot. And I don't.
Oh. Okay. What about? Yeah.
I go back to my slide.
You. What is it? Please push your button the escape, and then we will get dialogue first while you prepare your presentation.
Okay.
Escape. And then to come out. Oh, like this. Okay. You get it.
Stress, so stress. What's wrong with this? I cannot go back.
Okay. I think, yeah, the teachers.
Okay,
the
here.
teachers. Okay. Are you ready? Like this is okay. Like this is okay.
Yes.
You can use this one by one. It can be
Yes, yes,
seen
yes.
clearly now. Yeah.
Okay. What's wrong? Okay, can I just use this one? Okay, for today, we will be talking about the COVID-19 in the Philippines, the effect of COVID-19 in the Philippines, the real challenges in education, the Department of Education, learning continuity plan in the Philippines, capacitating teachers in the new normal teaching, and the learning delivery modality in the Philippines that we adapt. As update, we have this 55,000 COVID-19 active cases. And if we compare it with the total recovery, which is much, much higher compared to the number of deaths, which is just 1,947, the government see it as controllable of this time. The effects that everyone is suffering, we have the effects to the population, the threat to the public health, the economy, which is much, much suffering this time, the employment with the unemployment raising, the effect in the transportation, the threats in the food security. It also affects lifestyles. For instance, burial now is becoming virtual, and cremation instead of burying the dead bodies is now being a trend or becoming a trend in the Philippines because of the threat in the COVID-19. Education is much, much affected also, with billions of students, billions of teachers affected. And the real challenges in education are this. Number one, of course, is the school closures. School are closing, and there are millions of schools closing in the Philippines, not just in public, but also in private schools. Massive closures of schools is a big challenge to education, leading to the effect to the students. Students should stay at home, and students become, the anxiety in the students is increasing. Billions of learners are expressing their bad thoughts, their fears in the pandemic. Millions of teachers and educators are also affected. Not just students are in anxiety level. Also, the teachers are asking, or starting to ask how, starting to ask why. And the education system needs to address to the problems in mental health. The education system should also assess and mitigate the adverse impact of school closure in the level of students, the parents, the educators as well. The education should also ensure the safety of both learners and teachers in planning or doing the continuity or the learning continuity. They have to make sure that there is really safety and security in all the people involved, the learners, the teachers, the parents. It is a big challenge to make a better plan to continue learning and not to stop everything at this time. we need to, or the education need to address also the needs to improve the learning environment, embracing the technology, recalibrating, re-evaluating the technology that we have, and what are we going to do to enhance the technology. The teachers are also need to adapt. This is number one. The teachers really, really need to adapt to the new normal teaching, because the teachers will be the one to deliver learning to the students. So what do we do from here? How do we respond to challenges? How do Filipinos respond to challenges? Okay, DepEd launches DepEd Commons. This is our online platform that already started in the early this year, or early 2020. Before the lockdown, there's already DepEd Commons, but this is being intensified the time that the closure of schools happened in March. There's already, and as of April, there's already 2 million users of DepEd Commons. What is DepEd Commons? This is actually online platform wherein the students and parents will be able to download materials for the students to study while we are all in pandemic. While we are staying at home, the parents could download learning materials, and they could help their their children in guiding the students or the children to answer the worksheets, and to ensure that learning will not stop. DepEdTambayan.net is also an online platform wherein the teachers communicate. The teachers post learning materials or learning packets for them to deliver, or to ensure that there is learning still. And sample of this is the workbooks in English, mathematics, science, which is free to download for the parents and students. So how do the government respond to this? Our DepEd secretary actually, DepEd secretary give comments in the stopping or the wanting of the parents to stop or to stay at home, and then let us continue learning or continue education or continue the studies after the pandemic. But for the DepEd secretary,
Yeah, continue. Yeah, I think that there is a problem with the signal in Alida. Hello, Alida. Yeah, everything. Hello, Alida. Oh, sorry. Okay. Because there is a problem, and then we come to discussion first. There are some questions. Yeah, there are some questions. Let me see. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Okay, there is one. Sudah masuk belum? Okay. Okay, discussion. Patrick, there are some questions that given to you. That it seems that the program that you have very interesting. Yeah, it's like virtual. What is it? Virtual summer camp. Virtual summer camp. Yeah. Could you explain again and how difficult and how easy actually to conduct it? Yeah, come on.
So this was definitely, as we said, an experiment. This is something that has happened on our campuses before, but it had always been done in person, and it had always been done in very traditional ways. So it was a task that had never been really made to be digitized, and there really wasn't very good records kept for that camp. So one thing I can show you that might be interesting is kind of how we, and I shared this with you last week, but this is kind of an interesting look to see how it was organized. So I can share this. Hopefully there are some of you guys who are maybe even better than I am with some of the computer programs and spreadsheets and record keeping programs. But basically what I did is I created a log for teachers. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah, yeah.
All right, 1 second. So I created a log for teachers of all of the students in the program, and they each took attendance every day on the program, and it basically tracked the number of activities that each student did. And then I basically created the sticker. So I more or less created the sticker program that tracked how much participation each child had and gave them awards each week that the teacher would add to their boards, and that was the basis for our program. And so we had a site set up so that families could see how well their kids were doing and how many like little awards they had won. And so they could find their child's name on like the register for each club level. And then each time they matured up to a different club level, they were able to claim a different prize. And so we had a process for students to claim prizes, and they validated the claims to see if the child had actually qualified for that or not. And then the students were offered an opportunity to decide what they wanted. So they were offered sorry, my son's getting close to bedtime now, but so it was an interesting learning experience. So if your students have proficiency with spreadsheets, there was a lot of spreadsheet activity going on this summer, and it was definitely a learning experience for everyone. So I'd be happy to share more of those activities with you, and then perhaps you could pass those along to anyone that might be interested.
Okay, I think it needs a big server. Yeah, and then because usually in here if more than 100 students and come together, like making Zoom, and then there is like a buffering, yeah, a problem like that. I think it is not problem in US, but it will be a bigger problem in Indonesia. Yeah, but I think it is a good example that we can do. Hopefully that the government will support the platform like this, and then the student can enjoy it, even though they stay at home, but they still can have a virtual camp, can have e-learning at home, learning from home, something like that. And then, uh, Patrick, can you tell us about what is STEM, STEM actually? And then why Indiana have a STEM certification? How good is it, and can be applied in Indonesia or not like this?
So I would imagine that that's something that you could probably apply to receive. But STEM is really an integrated approach to education that includes science, technology, engineering, and math. So as students are solving problems, they're encouraged to use all of those together and integrate their skills in order to solve a real world problem. And so in our state, it's a distinction to earn a STEM certification. There's a pretty rigorous process that you have to apply to pursue. And basically you need the support of the community, but also a lot of evidence in your school of the sort of work that I hope you can see this. Is that something you guys can see right now?
Yeah.
So we have the support of the community, a number of partners, but also quite a bit of evidence to suggest that the work in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, is just part of kind of how we do business in our school. And so really it involves a collaboration between teachers and employers, and then also local government programs that that really creates an environment where kids can expect to have access to certain STEM challenges where they can, solve real problems that companies, that a company might have, such that when they complete the task, they can they can really have skill that would be applicable in a job place. And then one particular facet that we have been working really hard toward is to make sure that our students are connected with employers, and our students get to see what workplaces they might be able to participate in the future. Sorry, my page is going a little slow, but they can see the sort of work that they can do in the future, and begin to talk with the hiring agents and some of those companies about some opportunities they will have in just a few short years. So this is really, like I said, just a part of how we do business and the way that our schools prepare our students for work in the real world. And our certification that we actually earned this spring is an important part of that. So I believe I sent you the link for our portfolio, but that's just an interesting thing to look at, and maybe something to think about yourself. I'm not sure in Indonesia who might handle the certification, but I wouldn't be surprised if that soon ends up becoming something that you could pursue. I do know that it's extremely popular in Australia, and that the Australian government that does that. And so there's actually a lot of people that travel to Oceania and Australia in order to do that. And so I would imagine that Indonesia probably has a couple pockets where that is being practiced there as well.
I hope. Okay, I wish that you have a package to Indonesia and visit Unisla. For Pak Rector, I think Patrick Kennedy will, it is very recommended to invite to our campus. Yeah, to give a presentation and sharing experience one day. Yeah. Okay. I think STEM is like in Indonesia is link and match. Link and match. Yeah. Link with the industry and match with the skill that they need. Yeah, that is. But STEM is what is very very good, and it can be immediate in here. Okay. Uh, Alita, Kepel.
I am really, really sorry. I completely
Okay.
do not understand. We're completely out of Zoom.
Okay.
Sorry. I
Okay.
really do not
You.
understand what happened. Okay.
Yeah. You ready? Are
Thank
you ready to
you.
continue? Are you?
Thank you, Patrick, for saving. Yeah. May I continue?
Okay. Let me just.
Okay. A while ago, I talked about how government came up with solutions on how to continue learning without compromising the health of students, teachers, and all of the administrators involved. So they were able to come up with our DepEd secretary or the secretary of education actually quote unquote with this from her, if you teach anxiety, if you teach fear, if you teach insecurity, and you are so fearful that you cannot move anymore, let's just wait for this thing to blow over. But we do not know when this thing will blow over. So in the meantime, you cannot have 9 months of idle children being restrained in their homes, making them stay at home and having no classes, no learning at all because we are afraid we have to work around that fear. That's from our DepEd secretary. Hello?
Hello. Okay. It's very
Okay.
clearly.
And also our president, the president of the Philippines, Mr. Rodrigo Duterte, actually make sure that there will be no face-to-face classes before the vaccine. So in the beginning of pandemic, March to April, he actually informed the public that we will have the blended learning, we will have minimized face-to-face classes. But this July, the latest on his SONA or the State of the Nation address, he delivered to the public, strengthening his stand that there will be no face-to-face classes without vaccine. That's why the basic education or the Department of Education came up with BALCP or the Basic Education Learning Continuity Plan to make sure that learning will still continue, but still our students are well protected. So with this, they were able to come up with a plan to open up basic education in August 24, 2020, and to end up in April 30, 2021. That is for the rest of the public schools. And in private schools, in the state universities and colleges, and the local universities and colleges that offers basic education, they are enjoined to submit their plan to compliance with minimum health standards that will be issued by DepEd. They should be consistent with the guidelines of the Department of Health, the Interagency Task Force of Emerging Infectious Disease, and the Office of the President. And then they are ensured to follow the directive of the President to make sure that there is no face-to-face classes until the vaccine is available. They need to, or everyone needs to adapt various learning delivery options, which is suitable to the set of learners. They need to cancel curricular and co-curricular activities involving gatherings like science fairs, showcase of portfolios, trade fairs, school sports, campus journalism, festival of talents, job fairs, and other similar activities. Schools shall also conduct enrollment from June 1 to June 30, which became extended up to July 15 to ensure more enrollees will be entertained. With the Basic Education Learning Continuity Plan, Department of Education revisit curriculum. So our existing curriculum or the K-12 curriculum they evaluate it and come up with the most essential learning competencies, or the MELC. And this MELC became the guide now, or this gives the guideline to the teachers and administrators on what competencies should be given importance in the shortened span of delivery of learning. DepEd also come up with the unified modules to be used in distance learning, wherein the Department of Education choose selected teachers to lead the team to come up with unified modules which will be distributed to all the schools in the Philippines. DepEd also calls for the solidarity of the DepEd family and stakeholders, requesting the support of the parents, the industry, and the community through Brigada Eskwela and Upland Balik Eskwela which started in June 1 and to end in August 29, 2020. Teachers need to prepare weekly home learning plan to be given to the students together with the modules or the learning packets for the students. To improve learning environment through embracing technology. Now, in the Philippines, everyone should evaluate not only the Office of the President, not only the Department of Education, but the whole community should also evaluate what are the existing technology that we have. Are we capable to go online? Are we capable to go with online the whole or all throughout the Philippines or not, or which places needs are equipped with technology or needs help to equip or to improve their technology. Also, the teachers should undergo training to the new normal teaching because they are the one to lead the students and they are the one to deliver learning to the students. Next is to capacitate teachers or how do we capacitate teachers in the new normal teaching? Teachers, of course, do teach with skills already, but we need to upskill, we need to rewire. How? We need to connect or we need to ensure that all teachers are connected to internet, connected to technologies, they are equipped with technology, they are knowledgeable on how to handle it. So there are lots of webinars, lots of trainings for the teachers to upskill and rewire. Also to reskill. They already have the skill, but they need to learn it again. So they need to reskill and reconfigure how to handle or how to do this new normal teaching. Also, they need to cross-skill and reimagine. Make sure that they are internalizing the mode of learning that they are into and how they deliver the learning to students effectively even with this pandemic. So to capacitate teachers, also there are lots of webinars like free webinars for teachers with e-certificates in computer skills, webinar for the about stress, Office for Microsoft. There are also given webinars through the DepEd Commons that I mentioned a while ago. They are also trained in the online learning on how to handle activities in basic education. They are also given webinars on how to assess the students reaching the most marginalized and high-stake exams, or how to improve or how to align the assessment style with the learning modality that we're going to adapt. So with the learning delivery modality talked about now in social media, the Department of Education and the Office of the President give authority to the regional or to the local division offices to choose what is specific learning delivery modality to use. This is because since Philippines is with thousands of islands, and we cannot ensure that a good internet connection is available in all the places that we have, in all the schools that we have. So the DepEd and the president, or the office of the president, make sure that the regional offices will be able to choose what is appropriate, and these offices should be able to assess first the local situation. What is the local situation needing? What are the local students needing? What they have, what they don't have. So there is assessment first before they decide what learning delivery modality to adopt. So learning modalities that we consider are the following. We have online learning delivery through synchronous and asynchronous learning, that we believe years ago, prior this pandemic, there are already universities, there are already schools who are using online learning of their internet connection and the availability of technologies around. Also, the homeschooling is considered. When we say homeschooling, teachers, parents should work hand in hand for the benefit of the students. Without the teacher, without the parents to assist the students, it will still not be considered successful. So teachers will be able, or should be able, to train the parents. Parents should be able to deliver learning to the students through constant communication with the teachers. Also, to consider is the use of television and radio. The government is actually trying to look for funding on how to intensify the use. It was actually believed to be use of communication, use of education. It's actually the cheapest education system that we tried to adapt in the long run in for years, but this time the government is trying to find ways on how to improve the delivery of education through television and radio. Also, digital format, or providing digital format of learning modules and packets. So it's like this. So if the students, so during enrollment, the students will be asked, and the parents will be asked by the teachers what are the availability of technology. And if they don't have the technology, if they have the technology but they don't have internet connection, they couldn't do the online learning. So they will choose digital format learning modules. So learning modules will be given to them through USB or through any mode to save the soft copy or the digital format of the modules. If they don't have both, they don't have internet connection, they don't have the technology, they don't have the USB, so they are provided with printed learning modules and packets. And how to deliver, or how to provide printed learning modules. Teachers will actually be printing it, and will there are two options. So first, the parents will get the modules or the printed like remote learning areas. Also, blended learning, wherein we could use the combination. We could do online, and we could also attend to the, or provide modules to the students. And how do the government or local officials respond to the learning delivery modality chosen by the regional offices? In our capital city, which is Manila, the mayor actually give the statement that we will buy 110,000 tablets for children in Manila, and parents need not to. This is to address the problem of the problem raised by the community of the students of not having tablets, laptops, or any technology for the online learning classes. Also, the government promised or give us during the State of the Nation address of our president, she actually intensifies the need and the will of the government to improve internet access in the Philippines, reaching all areas in the Philippines. If local officials pledge to support the president in intensifying the internet access in the Philippines. In some of the locals, some of the local cities, there are actually they conducted webinars on how to deliver lesson or learning to the students using radio, using televisions. So with this plan of the government, teachers may either use the radio, the TV, the modules, the printed modules, the digital format, the original needed, and how need in every localities. With this, I'd like you to remember that amidst this COVID-19 pandemic, education still innovates. And that's the good thing. We are all in difficulties now, but one thing is for sure, education innovates because teachers, educators do not stop giving learning to all. There is no perfect learning continuity plan. The learning continuity plan that we have in the Philippines might not be suitable to all the areas that we have here, or
Alita, I take many notes from your presentation, and it is very wonderful because you have a deep act, commons online platform, and then your government give tablets test to the students. Yeah, so Philippines government give the best thing to their students. Yeah, we what I said, learns very much, many things from Philippines. And I think USA, Philippines, and Indonesia now very, very near by using this Zoom. This is the advantage of this pandemic. And then everybody are forced to learn by using technology. And Indonesia left behind because when I went to America, to Belzer and to Lawrence, not high school. I don't remember the name. They use a technology. They use e-learning. Yeah, they use a platform 5 years ago, and then we now are forced to use this technology. Okay, and I open the question to the participants. Open please. Open please. Yeah. Fauzan. Yeah. Maybe is there any question from Fauzan, and maybe the participant in this Zoom want to give a question, raise your hand and give a question to Beth Williams or to Alita or to Patrick. Yeah. Fauzan, come on Fauzan. Are you ready, Fauzan?
Ready?
Okay, yeah.
Hello?
Ready. Fauzan,
Hello?
yeah. Come on. Yeah, Fauzan.
Okay.
Yeah, I can
Okay.
hear you. Come on.
I'm teacher in elementary school, and I have so many problems to face my students. Actually, in lower class, in second class of elementary schools, in my experience, it's so hard to give tasks for students in second grade of elementary school because they have still have difficulty in reading, in writing, and etc. And the task, most of the tasks in elementary school is mm, like like multiple choice or others. But my students, most of my
Still Ellen.
students, still have difficulty to do that. My questions: how to face the students in elementary class, especially in lower grade of second grade of elementary students. Thank you.
I give a Bethlehem first because it is still in the second grade of the elementary school, and but the task ask the students to read, to have a digital task. But if actually the students still digital illiterate, I think. Yeah, that.
I think I understand what you're saying. I was a teacher before I was a psychologist. I taught elementary school. I taught grade 5 and grade 6. I think for young children, especially because they don't have the reading skills yet, virtual learning can be even more challenging. I think you're right. I think that it would take parents to help the children to review the skills. If you provide the skills for the parents to do with the children, I think that that might be helpful. I think that if parents read with their children every day, if the parent reads to the child and then maybe has the child do some reading back. But I do think that for teachers of young children, that's very, very challenging. I do think that's difficult. And I wish you well with, and I think that it's wonderful that you're teaching young children and that you have such heart.
Okay. Yeah, there's the answer from Bethlehem. Is there any question again, Fauzan? Enough? Yeah. Oh, Patrick, you want to add the answer of from Bethlehem? Okay, next question. Is there any next question?
What is the best?
Okay, Fauzan, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. From Zainal, yeah, Zainal Bayudi. I think he is the alumni of FKIB. Yeah, how can schools, yeah, how can yeah, how to make new normal school for the community that doesn't have sporting faith? Yeah, Patrick. How to make the new normal school? Yeah, the new normal school for the community that doesn't have spotted anything. If the community, the school
doesn't have support in anything.
Yeah, doesn't have sport.
How do you? What do you prefer? What do you? What do you mean with without support of anything? No support from the government.
No access, no computer.
Parents.
Yeah.
Okay. No available technologies, something like that. Okay.
Yeah, right.
How do we bring new normal teaching even without technologies? Then, like what we do here in the Philippines, there are actually areas or there are actually places wherein there's no availability of any technology, no cell phone, no laptop, no internet, know everything.
Yeah, on the
So
remote
what
island,
they
I
only
think.
have is actually teachers. And teachers need to print the modules and bring the modules to them.
Yeah.
Yes, in the remote
Read the
area.
model.
We are actually doing it.
Okay. Yeah. Bring the model. It is happens in the remote islands. I think Philippines and Indonesia is archipelago countries, so
In
it
the
is
remote
almost the
areas
same.
we're in,
Yeah.
we could not trust technology.
Okay. Okay, next question. Is there any difference in the level of student understanding and feeling of the satisfaction of the level of understanding in the online learning process? Beth William, do you have, what is it? What is some complaints from the student that they have not, what is it, have a dislike in the online learning, for example, and they get bored. Yeah.
Well,
They feel, yeah.
I think maybe Patrick can answer some of that as well, but I think that some children are not as engaged with online learning, and that's why schools doing the badge system to help promote their interests. But I think that the other thing that children are missing, from what I'm understanding, is the social interaction of being together in the same space. So I do think that, you know, that virtual learning is going to be necessary right now. I think that when we can provide social opportunities for children in person, it's wonderful. I don't think that that's wise right now. I am concerned about their ability to be socially distanced because that's not the nature of children. But you know, I think that that's everyone's ultimate goal is that people be together in the same space. But I think the reality of things, not just for the pandemic period, but for education even after the pandemic, I think more and more is going to be provided virtually. I'm not sure that that answers the question. Those are some thoughts.
Yeah. Do you open a virtual meeting with the students, with the teacher or the parent, oh sorry, student and parents when they have a consultation about a mental disease or stress with this condition or not?
I'm not sure I understood.
Yeah, I mean that, for example, in this time, and this COVID pandemic, there are many students of stress, anxious, yeah, and do you open a virtual meeting with students or teacher or say parents to overcome this problem? Yeah,
I understand. I do some of that, but we also have other people in our schools. We have a social worker, we have guidance counselors, we have liaison people, and we have outside counselors that are mental health counselors that work in our buildings. They see children on a regular basis. My job is different. I'm only allowed to see children when I have parent permission, so I'm more restricted in what I can do. But we do have guidance counselors, mental health therapists from the hospital, a local hospital that work in the schools. And then probably when I go back, I will probably do some small groups. It's not officially counseling, but the guidance counselors will tell me names of students that they feel would benefit from talking to someone that they feel would be safe. So when I go back to work, I will probably get some names of children that might need some extra help. But I have to have the parents' permission, written permission to see those children.
I get it. Okay. Time is almost up. And then before that, I hope that Patrick can give a small comment for closing. And then after this, Beth, after this, Alita, and Pak Bambang, Pak Rektor. Pak Rektor still here? Pak Rektor? Pak Bambang? Ya, nanti kata terakhir, Pak. Oke, ya foto bersama nanti ya. Kemudian juga Pak Made, still here?
Ya, terima kasih.
Pak Bambang ya.
Terima kasih kepada para narasumber, keynote speaker, Beth, Alita, dan Patrick. Ya, terima kasih atas partisipasinya. You remember Indonesian language? Thank you. Ya, demikian Pak Kusnu.
Ya. Ya, thank you.
Kata kuncinya adalah kita harus bisa hidup bersama dengan COVID Corona 19. Pendidikan harus tetap berlanjut, tapi di dalam mayoritas menyelenggarakan e-learning, jangan hilang learningnya. Ya, jangan sampai learningnya hilang. Kita terpaku pada e-learning, tapi learningnya hilang. Ini yang kita harus jaga bersama. Saya kira demikian, Pak Wisnu. Terima kasih.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bambang. Yeah, the education must go on in this pandemic. Yeah, must go on. So, thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.
Patrick, yeah.
Sorry?
Patrick, give a last comment for this meeting. Yeah.
Thank you very much for having me today. I just want to also thank you guys for all taking an opportunity to learn from each other and from the other panelists. And I know I learned a lot just from Beth and from Alita. I appreciate the fact that you guys have all made time for this and that you've taken the time to arrange this. I think that, you know, one of the biggest things that we can all do is to stop and think through some of what our children are going through and you know what it's like to be a child through all this. And so you guys have taken some time to really understand their problems. And I think just all of us giving a little bit more consideration into how this impacts a child is going to pay dividends. As I shared earlier at the beginning of this conversation, this is really a great equalizer. The whole world was stifled, I think, by this this event, this health crisis, and this is a powerful way that we can affect the lives of kids by responding appropriately. So I appreciate all of your efforts and for having me here tonight and for the opportunity to learn from all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Beth Williams.
I wanted to say also thank you, Termakase, for having all of us tonight. And I think that it really speaks well that people from all over the world can come together and have conversations that are helpful to all of our communities. And that we each have something to learn from the other community. I've said that many times when I was in Indonesia. America has a lot to learn from Indonesia. I have not had the good luck of being in the Philippines yet, but I'll get there. So thank you very much. And inshallah, we have
Hope to see you here, Ms. Beth.
Good night.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Beth. Next, from my best friend, Ains Labiaga. Come on. Time says, Ains, give last comment.
Me here. Thank you so much for this opportunity to communicate with you. I agree that with Miss Beth, we really do have to sit down. We really do have to talk about these things and collaborate. That is very much important. Communication and collaboration amidst this pandemic will actually be the bridge for us to go through this pandemic. And do not let us make sure that we will not stop learning. We will not stop delivering learning to our students, and we will not stop bringing our students to quality education as well. Thank you so much, and hope to see you here, Miss Beth and Sir Patrick in the Philippines, and my best friend Kusnu, and also in educators. Thank you so much. And I apologize for all those problems a while ago, but that only gives us one important message. Even if we have problems, even if we encounter difficulties, still everything should continue at the right place at the right time. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ains. And Pak Mate? No, Pak Mate. Okay. Okay. Yeah. 2 hours seems not enough. And I wish there will be any next webinar that will be conducted by English department. And then from the bottom of our heart, from the committee, we give best appreciation and gratitude to the best presenters today, Mr. Patrick Kennedy and Mrs. Beth William and Ms. Ans Labiaga, because you gave many things, share experiences, best practices that we can learn. And I agree with Alita that by sharing to each other, we can collaborate to overcome the problem in facing the COVID-19 pandemic. Yeah, USA, Philippines, Indonesia are very near by Zoom, and then we can share together. We face this pandemic together for our children, for better generation. That's all for today. See you. Thank you for the audience, and we will have take picture together. For documentation. Everybody, raise your hand. Semuanya, silakan dibuka videonya. Open your video, and then we will take picture together. Ya, ayo teman, yang lainnya. Semuanya, where is your thumb? Where is your thumb? So ask your thumb, please. Yeah. Beres? Sudah? Screenshot?
Untuk menampilkan videonya, Pak. Banyak peserta yang masih belum menampilkan videonya masing-masing.
Oke. Ini banyak yang
masih nambah.
Oke. Ini banyak yang nggak apa-apa. Nanti habis ini kita foto lagi. Thank you for everything. Alhamdulillah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ya, buka semuanya.
Ya, Mrs. Beth, salam untuk Sarah.
Ya, buka, diopen semuanya. Okay. Mrs. Beth dapat salam untuk ini. Jordan katanya mau menikah ya, Jordan.
Oh.
Video nggak bisa dibuka.
Video.
Oh, daftar hadirnya tolong diisi sama evaluasinya. Ini is the feedback and attendance from a form. Tolong dicatat. Ya, yang mau menyapa sama Beth atau Patrick atau ini silakan. Saya berharap Pak Rektor Patrick bisa diundang ke Islam. Oh,
after pandemic
selanjutnya bisa diundang ke Indonesia, ke Lamongan, ya, untuk evaluasinya.
Ada wajah besar. Besar.
Ya.
Bambang.
Oke. Sudah semuanya?
Take picture again, sir.
Melambaikan tangan semuanya, Pak Kusnul.
Oh, lambaikan tangan.
Suruh melambaikan tangan semuanya, Pak Kusnul.
Di video ya, di video ya.
Bye-bye.
Ya, thank you very much.
Sarangnya yo.